I'm once again talking about David Lynch today. In particular, I'm going to be talking about how his approach to filmmaking changed or updated my approach to experiencing and viewing films. This may be an experience that other people might be able to relate to, I'm unsure, but I thought it was worth talking about. Now, the best way I can recount this is if I talk about my experience watching Twin Peaks for the first time back in early 2020. Going into the series, I'd already seen a good number of David Lynch's films, I was already familiar with his directorial style, and so my expectations around Twin Peaks were a little particular, you could say. Films such as Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, Mulholland Drive dealt with dark subject matter and themes, and acted as exposés/uncoverings of the sinister aspects of humanity. That's putting it very simply, of course. Eraserhead explored the inner psyche, the inner fear of this anxiety-ridden man. Mulholland Drive uncovered the dark underbelly of Hollywood. Blue Velvet is renowned for being an exposé of the picturesque American way, especially with that opening scene. The point being, my idea for what David Lynch's work stood for, I describe like so. I thought they were excellent exposés of the malevolence of man, the hidden malevolence of man. He'd take a certain long-revered American institution and he'd properly dissect it, revealing all of the hidden evils, the exploitation and disposability of women in Hollywood per se, the savage criminal underworld of America, the wanton violence that lies within all men, the concept of deep dark truths that are never addressed finally being acknowledged. Now, I still do believe that that is what these films are about partially, however, the themes don't just stop there. They are exposés, if you want to call them that, but they also possess other meanings. Regardless, upon my first viewing of Twin Peaks, I had a presupposition for what the show was going to be like. A presupposition that, looking back now, I dub as somewhat close-minded. I thought Twin Peaks would be Blue Velvet the show. I thought it was going to be this ingenious, avant-garde, shocking critique of old-fashioned American sensibilities. One big fuck you to everything that was conventional of the era that it came out in. Now, funnily enough, I'd say that in the long run, I did get just that, because Twin Peaks does dissect multiple American sensibilities and institutions. The entire One-Eyed Jack storyline is a fantastic showcase of middle-aged man's devilish wantonness for young women. This almost Greek tragedy where the upstanding men of the society have these secret debauched vices. The show, namely season 1, was avant-garde, so it's quite funny how I didn't realise or appreciate that until later viewing. I definitely didn't realise how dark it was for a show of its type, like a soap opera. However, the aspect of the show that was really tripping me up wasn't the cynicism of the show's world, it was the optimism, the sheer amount of optimism. Now, you'll have to forgive me because what I'm about to say will make it out as though I was this cynical arsehole, but when first watching Twin Peaks, I was slightly put off by the seemingly idealistic nature of the show's world. Or more accurately, I didn't know what to make of the vibrant, uplifting tone. Because of my presuppositions regarding David Lynch's work, for a good chunk of my viewing experience, I remember thinking things like, oh well, this seemingly optimistic tone is clearly just a facade covering up something really sinister underneath. It's not truly an optimistic show, it's all fake. The underlying truth of this show's world is that it's all foul and corrupt. It's a lot like how in the beginning of Blue Velvet you see the picturesque American dream, the American way per se, with all the white picket fences, and then it descends down and you see the debauched underworld. What David Lynch is of course trying to say is that inherently America is a vile, vile place.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it, I'm saying it.
Now, jumping ahead to present day, what I now believe Twin Peaks was doing, and this is an aspect of the show that I've come to love, was it was embracing unapologetic optimism without fear of seeming cheesy or melodramatic. The acting of the show was very over the top and soap opera-esque. For people such as myself who always actively avoided melodramatic soap operas, it was quite jarring to see this style of acting employed in a show that was supposedly created by an auteur. Again, my thought process whilst watching the show was, oh, well, it's all just one big parody of the soap opera genre. Hats off to Lynch, he's done it again. He's satirised the phoniness of American television. There's no way any of this is meant to be taken seriously.
There's no way.
So I can't quite remember, but I may have been watching scenes such as the one where Leland and Sarah Palmer find out that their daughter is dead, and instead of taking it seriously, I might have been going, ah yes, it's all a parody, of course. Perhaps there was an aversion to sincerity going on.
Oh, my baby!
The thing is, part of the show is satirising soap operas as well as conventional American sensibilities. Yet the other key aspect that was going over my head was that it was also celebrating these sensibilities as well, and paying homage and respect to these soap operas too. For as much as it does poke fun and critique certain conventions, it also at other times plays them straight, in the process demonstrating the underlying value of classic American institutions. There is a true beauty to the nuclear family, to the high school sweethearts, or to the honourable sheriff, and that is what David Lynch was trying to communicate. I guess I was just so ready to perceive these characters as stereotypes or parodies, which admittedly David Lynch has done before. I was just so used to seeing these conventional archetypes and ideas through a postmodern satirical lens that I didn't appreciate the underlying soulfulness of the characters and the stories. The warm, heartfelt moments of love and kindness weren't mockeries, they were sincere demonstrations of goodness. Better still, there was a duality to the world of Twin Peaks, wherein at every possible interval, both the positive and negative sides to a subject were equally represented. Yes, the show deals a lot with lustful patriarchal figures, yet it also in equal measure deals with the unbridled love that a father can have for his daughter. There is a duality to Leland Palmer, a duality to Ben Horne, even a duality to the show's protagonist, Dale Cooper. If we just look at Dale's relationship with Audrey Horne, we can see a very observable duality. The good Dale Cooper is a positive and wholesome father figure to Audrey who never takes advantage of her sexually. He does not lust after her, and his caring for her is one of sincere compassion. Of course, when evil Cooper is introduced, things take a horrifying turn. This version of Cooper does lust after Audrey, even going as far as to rape her. It is the inverse version of Cooper that perhaps represents the dark side of his soul. Regardless, the point remains, every major character, every major theme, or in-universe institution comes in twos. Everything is in equal parts good and evil because that is the true nature of the world. Two extremes, Twin Peaks. One example, I always viewed the Double R Diner as the good version of One Eye Jacks, like the inverse. Lots of scenes of men going into Double R Diner to be greeted by the women, however it's far less exploitational. The bonds that the men have with the waitresses are far more wholesome. The men go in there to consume coffee or cherry pies, and that is fine, that is a good transaction because it's one that doesn't involve anyone's exploitation. They consume something that brings them pleasure, but it is a wholesome pleasure, unlike how it is in One Eye Jacks. In One Eye Jacks, the food, the pleasure are the girls themselves. They are being completely objectified. Also cherry pie is a little sexual, isn't it? It's delicious, but sexual. Twin Peaks as a show is designed to maintain the perfect tonal balance between foreboding and peaceful, between happy and sad, between joyous and terrifying. And the musical theme evokes this duality marvellously. I'd say that almost every emotion on the spectrum between happiness and dread are present in this musical arrangement. It so perfectly intermixes positive and negative emotions. All you have to do is listen to it and you'll get what I mean. It's insane what Angelo Badalamenti was able to achieve. Boom, 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 boom. Boom. And that boom boom boom, it isn't necessarily a dark thing, it's also like a tender thing, like a comforting thing. Boom boom boom, like a sad thing, not necessarily like evil, but it could be evil. Boom 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 boom. This is fucking hell. So harkening back to my past self's take, which was that all of this nice optimism was all just a facade to cover up the horrendous evil within, we can now see just how backwards I had it. No, the goodness was not a facade, it was very real. It was just as real and as significant as all of the darkness we see in the show. The good remains despite all of the immense evil we see being done. I was half right in my assumption that the show was exposing the sinister truths of the world, but I neglected the fact that it was also championing the goodness of humanity.
This is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee. I've had, I can't tell you how many cups of coffee in my life, and this is one of the best.
And the way I've described my past self has made it out as if I was this cynical, jaded arsehole who couldn't fucking enjoy any film that was hopeful, like I couldn't watch Star Wars. I was like, what's going on here? Hope? Why no bad ending? Why no nihilism? I assure you that this wasn't the case. I wasn't nihilistic. The reason that this happened was down to multiple contributing factors. For one, the thing I mentioned earlier about David Lynch and my expectations around him, like, oh, it's a David Lynch property, it must be dark, it's going to be really fucked up, and ooh. But also another big thing that I'm now going to delve into pertain to the way in which young film enthusiasts are encouraged to critique art, or how beginner film fans are taught to analyse media, as well as the expectations we place around the avant-garde and auteur directors. So when you're getting into film, or any art form for that matter, you'll come across a lot of media that is very critical of the institutions that you grew up with. Institutions that you always, for the most part, perceived as good and righteous. These pieces of media will be very fascinating to you because seeing them be critiqued in such an outward manner is a new thing for you. And that idea that said long-revered thing is actually foul and evil is quite the revelation. These institutions may include America, the government, capitalism, big corporations, men, prior generations, the nuclear family, all things that for the longest time you weren't able to freely criticise up until the 70s. But also as kids growing up in any era, these things are presented to you as the end-all be-all of good. And then as you grow up, become a teenager or a young adult, you start to become interested in the moral complexity of the world, the moral greyness of the world. You figure out that these things, that there's multiple sides to these things, and it's very fascinating, especially for a kid. That's why we love things like American Psycho, Taxi Driver, Clockwork Orange, Fight Club, all of these things where you relate to the dark side of your humanity. And that's like a natural thing, it's a healthy process. Might sound scary, but it's good. But take American Psycho, that's a very simple subversion by today's standard, but when you first see that as like a kid, when 14, 15, you're like, oh my god, what? Upstanding businessman actually bad and kill people? Other films may include Full Metal Jacket, American Beauty, Blue Velvet even, and all of these films that I've mentioned in some way, shape or form critique a said institution, satirising them in an artful way. Make no mistake, I'm not saying that any of these films aren't good, because A Clockwork Orange is one of my favourite films of all time. I'm simply stating that they're very influential in shaping how a starter film fan views and analyses media. You watch a ton of these films and you might start to get this notion that, oh, so when film reveals something nasty and horrible about humanity, that equals amazing and artistic, equals revolutionary and avant-garde. Just to pick something we all usually see as good, but in a fucked up, cynical way, and it'll equal cinema automatically. And that is a very misguided notion, because these films that you're watching aren't just effective because they're revealing something bad, they're effective because they are doing it in an artful, poignant, insightful way. They're also renowned because they came out in eras where such statements were very revolutionary. The surface level takeaway from watching films like these is that saying something bad about America or capitalism equals great art. Thus, these up-and-coming film enthusiasts start to revere this idea of revealing the hidden evil truth of something through film, the instant route to profundity. Online film discourse and mainstream film analysis in general kind of perpetuates this notion too.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it, I'm saying it.
A lot of video essays about how this dissects that, how this exposes that, how this completely unravels the mystery of this and completely like shows us the real people the truth about men or something. And I'm not saying that this is inherently a bad thing, because it's okay to critique these big institutions, these huge things, but I think people latch on to things that are too specific and think that's what the end-all be-all of art is. The theme of dunking on rich people or critiquing America, those are themes. They aren't like inherently artistic. With critiquing and satirizing or skewing something, it's all fine as long as you just do it well and say something poignant or insightful.
Fuck society.
Remember, I watched this one video essay in particular that was just awful. It just encapsulates everything that I've been talking about here. It's it's awful. Go watch it.
What's wrong?
America deserved 9/11.
I digress. So after a while, all of this fixating on cynicism may lead one to think that optimism is empty, cheesy, and not worth anyone's time. Classic Hollywood sentiments are nothing but trite cliches to you, and over time you begin to lose sight of the inherent profundity to conventional storytelling. If a film isn't subverting something in this grandiose way, it's of no merit to me. If the main character isn't a fucked up piece of shit, then who cares? If it's about America and it doesn't present it as maniacally evil, then it's a propaganda puff piece. Then maybe you stumble across one of David Lynch's films, let's say Blue Velvet. You watch the opening scene and you go, oh yes, it's clearly a scathing critique of American culture, and it just exposes how awful and vain and disgusting it is inherently, or whatever. An ingenious depiction of the malevolent foundations of the American way. Every moment of positivity in Lynch's films you pass off as satire or parody because, well, Lynch hates America. You go into Twin Peaks expecting nothing but darkness, yet you're met with an abundance of sincere idealism and happiness.
Every day, once a day, give yourself a present.
For me, watching Twin Peaks, as well as other works from David Lynch, helped me to realise the importance of sincerity, the value in taking yourself seriously without fear of seeming ridiculous, the value of championing goodness in film without fear of seeming cheesy. Lean into old school conventions, they're old and timeless for a reason. Lean into classical themes. You want your film to be an unabashed display of love and friendship, do it. If that's what you believe in, if it's sincere, it will work.
We embraced a warm and loving embrace. Nothing was held.
The works of Lynch left me with a newfound appreciation for optimistic sentiments in film. Also, not every film has to follow the template of that thing you thought was totally righteous and cool and good is actually horrible and evil and needs to be destroyed. Sometimes these things, these institutions, can be good. They can do good, and it's not cheesy, it's sincere.
What about the FBI? I am the FBI.
Celebrating goodness is important, just as important as coming to terms with the evils of the world. The world isn't all bad, it's a strange mix of good and evil. For every heinous, deplorable act that's out there, there is an equally significant, equally powerful force for good counterbalancing that. Make sure you understand that truth to ensure that you don't make media that is pointed, one-dimensional, one-sided. Not every film has to be solely about something nasty. Not every film has to be about, oh, you know, rich people suck, man. Like, how do you think we ended up with The Menu? I mean, that's an okay film. That's not actually that bad of a film. It's just, you have to admit, it's a little bit of like a Reddit film, isn't it? It's a bit Reddit-y.
America deserved The Menu.
Despite all I've said, I do cut myself some slack because Twin Peaks was my first foray into the soap opera genre. It's a little bit of a disservice calling it a soap opera. It's not really soap opera acting, it's a style of acting that is paying homage to soap operas but also kind of elevating the emotions to 11 out of 10. It's like Lynch just lets the emotions of the character, the emotions of the scene just completely take over to absurd degrees. It's almost jarring, it's surreal, and that's the way it's supposed to be. And Twin Peaks is quite the rearrangement of the soap opera genre, and because I didn't really watch that many soap operas before Twin Peaks, I didn't really understand like the significance of what it was doing with said genre. But no, the overt acting, the near comedically overt acting does take some getting used to, like the tone does take some getting used to. But all I can say is, second time round it just fucking clicked. It's the same with Sopranos. I mean, that's a completely different show in tone or whatever, but like it clicked. It fucking clicked. Every creative decision just worked. work for me. Long story short, on first watch I couldn't connect with the characters because I thought the performances were quite hammy, but on second watch I did connect with the characters because I found the performances to be very emotionally raw.
She's beautiful. Into the light. Laura.
Thanks to the patrons. Thank you DF, thank you Casey Gann, thank you Mason Lydon, thank you Matt Delaney.
And also I just want to lastly preface, not trying to devalue exposés or like what like that function in cinema. I think that's a very vital part of movie making and art, of like critiquing something, you know. Pretty much all of the films that I mentioned in this video as examples I'd consider to be like absolute classics, 10 out of 10 almost, whatever you want to call it. I love films that tackle grisly subject matter and shine light on dark things. I was simply critiquing the mentality that some film critics develop around said works. Don't have such a narrow view towards what the purpose of art is.
And remember to fucking subscribe. America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it, I'm saying
That's why you gotta live for today.
Talking about annihilation, you stupid fuck.
You think I haven't seen you? Shoving back 24 cupcakes in the break room?
They don't know shit, Barnes, and chances are we're gonna run into something. Think about it.